Thank you for tuning in on this special little twist to the realm of unknown, Fright Month. Throughout the entire month of October, each day we shall be looking into one location in or around the city of Philadelphia, giving you their history and some of the hauntings associated to these areas. These will be shorter episodes than the normal weekly ones that you are used to, but I hope you still enjoy our journey into these locations' pasts and what part of that history may still be lingering here in the present. Be sure to check out the Patreon throughout the month for show notes, links, and resources for each location, as well as some special behind-the-scenes content to celebrate this joyous month of frights. The Christ Church Burial Ground, located in Philadelphia, is an extremely notable early colonial and early American cemetery. It ended up hosting the final resting place for several influential figures within the United States' early history. It is famously known for being the resting place of Benjamin Franklin and his common-law wife, Deborah, along with Benjamin Rush, Francis Hopkins, Joseph Hughes, and George Ross, all being other signers of the Declaration of Independence. Two additional signers also, by the names of James Wilson and Robert Morris, were buried a short distance away over at the actual Christ Church, which is the Episcopal church that founded the burial ground that we will be talking about today. The church was founded in the year 1695 and was a place of worship for many well-known Revolutionary War participants. George Washington himself even frequented the Mass here. The burial grounds in question, though, are located at 5th and Arch. You can't really miss them as they are situated just across the street from Independence Mall, which is a 3-block section within the overall Independence National Park here in Philadelphia. The burial grounds were created back in 1719, and they remained an active cemetery to this day. At its inception, the land that would become the cemetery was purchased along 5th Street from a man known as James Steele. The grounds were actually situated in what was once known as the suburbs of Philadelphia, even though it was just a few blocks away from the church at the time within the city's history. That far out was considered the outskirts, and once again the suburbs. However, if you visit Philadelphia today, you couldn't be situated further into the city and the urban environment. The burial grounds today are open to the public for a small fee and averages a good number of visitors and tourists every year. Although if you wish to still see the cemetery, you can still do so after hours by positioning yourself right beside Benjamin Franklin's grave at the corner of 5th and Arch Street. There is a small see-through portion of the wall set with iron rails in order to still allow people to view the gravesite after hours. This particular section within the wall was added to the public display in 1858, and it was initiated on behalf of the Franklin Institute, who assumed the responsibility of sort of defending Ben Franklin's historic ties to the city of Philadelphia, after stemming from a line of critiques over the city's maintenance on the grave and overall site. Eventually, too, a statue in Franklin's likeness was also erected on the location. Now, what about these spirits allegedly tied to the cemetery? Well, predominantly there seems to be a single spirit in which most reports are drawn from, and that is Ben Franklin himself. It would seem that this particular founding father still lingers about on the burial grounds even to this day, and there are some interesting stories and rumors that are linked to Franklin and his spirit. One such story ties in with the common tradition of tossing a penny out over Ben Franklin's grave, as many tourists to the location oftentimes partake in this practice due to the fact of Ben Franklin's famous quotes referring to pennies. This practice is done so much so that the cemetery actually collects a few $100s on average each year, in just pennies alone. That money is then used to continue the upkeep of the overall grounds. But this is not always so cut and dry, as strangely enough, some pennies have been reported to be flung back at unsuspecting visitors. In July of 1976, Joanna Flynn, a registered nurse, reported feeling something hit her on the back of the neck while visiting the location. She then noticed that a penny was rolling across the pavement by her feet. Upon turning around, Flynn realized that there was no one behind her. This strange event would happen a second time just as Flynn began to brush off the event. This time, slightly annoyed, Flynn turned around and once more, no one was there. Perhaps whomever was tossing the pennies, perhaps even Franklin himself, was a bit irritated because Flynn actually did not offer any coins herself while on her tour. In addition, some visitors to the location have also reported that spare change seems to simply disappear from their wallets and their pockets or their bags while visiting the cemetery. They can't find it anywhere nearby, and even while looking on the gravesite itself, for the most part seems to be only pennies. So at the moment, there is no real explanation as to why this change is mysteriously disappearing, unless there is a pickpocket at the location that only targets spare change, but that also seems very unlikely. Women who also visit the location should be a bit more cautious while around the burial ground, as there are often reports of individuals being poked or pinched unexpectedly, specifically on the rear. Whether or not it is Ben Franklin or simply some womanizing spirit is unclear, but just be cautious of your backside if you are visiting the burial grounds. There doesn't seem to be any other sorts of spirits that linger about throughout the cemetery. However, our good friend Benjamin Franklin shall be joining us throughout the entirety of Fright Month, as he seems to be specifically tied to a lot of locations in and around the city of Philadelphia. So stay tuned for that, as a few of those stories are rather interesting and pretty unique to the locations themselves. But that shall be all for today's location. I hope you enjoyed learning some of the history and haunts that are linked to the area. Remember, if you want to check out the show note links and resources used to research this episode, along with some behind the scenes and exclusive content, then be sure to check out the podcast's Patreon. Or if you wish to stay up to date on all that Fright Month has to offer, then you can do so over on Twitter and Instagram at Realm of Unknown. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed today's brief episode, and I hope that you continue to join us throughout Fright Month as we journey into the Realm of Unknown.